All right, we got Penn State versus Notre Dame, a matchup of two historic programs in the Orange Bowl to get to the national championship. This Notre Dame-Penn State matchup is going to be interesting. I think Penn State is the better team. For some reason, they're opening as dogs. Offensively is the reason why. I think the biggest way that Penn State needs to execute offensively and score in this game against Notre Dame is going to be to stick with the run game. I think offensive line-wise, I think they have a very good offensive line, probably the best offensive line Penn State has had since I was there in 2007. Ironically, the last time Penn State played Notre Dame. In my opinion, they don't need to get too cute. They have a better offense, period. And it may not happen in the first quarter. It may not happen in the second quarter with all the big explosive runs that you saw against Boise State. But if you hammer the run game and continuously stick with it, everything else opens up. It makes Aller's job easier at the quarterback position. Then you can start feeding Tyler Warren on some play action stuff or even his little short routes and let him make plays after the catch. That is the way that they do this. Offensively for Notre Dame, it's much more methodical. It's going to be, let's stick with the run game. Let's stick with the run game. They don't have the explosive threats on the outside. They have some very good running backs. But their starting running back got banged up against Georgia. We'll see where he's at health-wise. And whenever you look at what they're able to do offensively with Notre Dame, they have the one skill guy, Faison, the dual sport lacrosse football player. That's their main threat offensively. They got I think a tight end that's got some skill and got some downfield explosiveness. But other than that, I think they rely on their running game, their offensive line, and the quarterback to make plays with his legs. Riley Leonard's been very interesting for me to watch this year because there's games where he throws for 200 plus, and then there's games where like you saw against Georgia, he throws for 100 yards, and it's like, okay, well, which guy's going to show up today? And I think obviously a lot of that depends on the defenses that they're playing. But if you're Penn State's defense, gap integrity is going to be huge. You cannot jump around blocks. You cannot go out of a gap that you are supposed to be in. When you get these edge rushers and he gets a lane to step up in, the defensive tackles need to be able to push the pocket and make a play. You can't all go wide and open up this Red Sea in the middle for him to run through, because once he gets in the open space, he's very methodical in what he does, and it doesn't look like he's running very fast, but then you see it against Georgia, and he's outrunning DBs to the sidelines, and there's something about him that's very deceptive, and he's a very good football player, and he knows how to make plays when he needs to. For Penn State, having Abdul Carter is going to be huge this week. They played him a little bit off the ball in this matchup. He goes out early, but he was supposed to be the spy. He was supposed to be the spy the entire game and just kind of match Genty. And he is such a good football player. He's the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. He's a perennial first-round pick by everybody in the NFL right now. So he's definitely going to be a fantastic player at the next level. Micah Parsons, any of the great linebackers that come from linebacker U, he fits that mold. They are going to need him in this game because they do need a spy on Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard, the minute that first option, second option isn't there, he looks down and he wants to run and make a play with his feet. And that's where a guy like Abdul Carter, who has the speed, who has the size, who has everything to be able to bring him down, you need him. On the flip side, Xavier Watts, safety for Notre Dame. He is a fantastic player, a special player. The strength of this Notre Dame defense is their secondary. They got good people up front. Their defensive line is pretty solid, but the strength is the secondary, including their nickelback, Jordan Clark, right? Ryan Clark, former teammate of mine's son. But the whole thing goes through Xavier Watts. He is the guy. He's the center fielder that controls the whole scheme for Notre Dame, and he does a great job. He's in and out of the lineup, got banged up a little bit in this game against Georgia, but he is the guy. He's the heartbeat. He's the pulse of that defense. Penn State struggles, I think, at wide receiver position. I will be very interested to see if they almost do a matchup with him on Tyler Warren, because Tyler Warren is the guy. Tyler Warren is the guy. He's a first-round pick as well, tight end for Penn State. Everybody knows what he can bring. It'll be very interesting to see how much we just make this a one-on-one matchup between Watts and Tyler Warren. A lot has been said about James Franklin not being able to win the big game, the big matchup, right? He's lost to Ohio State and Michigan almost every year he was supposed to. And so then he gets into the college football playoff and he beats an SMU and a Boise State team. There's still going to be a lot of critics that say that he hasn't done enough. At the end of the day, you can only play who they put in front of you. College football playoff, it is what it is. And that's the way that they seed it. And when you look at SMU and Boise State, they are two good teams. They are two teams deserving of being in the college football playoff. And James Franklin gets two huge wins against them. Yes, he has been able to win the big game. But until he beats a team like a Notre Dame, like an Ohio State, like a Texas on the big stage, those critics will still be there. And in my opinion, he needs to win this game against Notre Dame, regardless of what happens if he gets to the national championship. This is the game that will answer a lot of questions. Marcus Freeman has done a fantastic job. I love what he has done. Most teams would have crumbled when they lose to Northern Illinois in the early part of the season. The way they've been able to bounce back and climb their way back into the college football playoff. And then from there, what they've been able to do offensively, where they struggled early. Riley Leonard, new guy transferring from Duke. They looked at him to be the guy early, but he struggled picking up this offense, and he's only got better and better and better every single week. And so when you look at what Marcus Freeman has been able to do, I just think he's so cool, calm, and collected. And when I watch him, the poise that he has and the way that he gets his guys to show up and play, I love the way he answers his post-game interviews. I think he's very humble and very grateful for the opportunity that he has, and he takes this team and he gets the most out of them. I think he also wins. They made a big mention about the special teams moment where they send the punt team on, they send the punt team off, they put the offense on, they get the defense to jump off sides. He's got a lot of these moments where he's winning the coaching battle. This will be a big pivotal moment for James Franklin. Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator for Penn State, he's been scrutinized at times this year for getting too cute. A lot by me. I hate when he gets too cute because you got a good O-line. You got two really good running backs. Let's hammer it. Let's hammer it. We don't need to get cute. So I think a lot of this might come down. Again, I don't think Notre Dame's offensive coordinator's the greatest offensive coordinator in the world either. So whenever you look at it, I think it's actually going to come down to these two offensive coordinators because it's all about who's going to score more points. Both defenses are stingy. Both defenses are going to do what they're supposed to do. Offensively, who plays better will win this game. This matchup is really cool between Penn State and Notre Dame because I think the history of it speaks volumes. If you go back and you look at the Joe Paterno versus Lou Holtz, Joe Paterno versus previous coaches at Notre Dame's in the 70s and the 80s, I think even in the 60s, these teams have played, I think I saw it today, they've played 19 times, and it's 9 wins versus 9 wins and 1 tie, split right down the middle. And these teams are just so historic whenever you look at the landscape of college football. The college football playoff has exactly what it wants with Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, and Penn State. These are teams, I think all of them have over 900 wins in the history of their programs. I could be wrong on that. It might be 3 out of 4, but I know these are 4 teams that have history and tradition and everything you want in college football. But when it comes to Penn State, Notre Dame, these are 2 teams that have always tried to do things, I think, the right way. Have they had some issues at times? Absolutely. But they've always tried to have good education. They've tried to mold kids into men for what they have after football. They've tried to win it the right way. And these are teams that, when it comes to the history of these 2 programs, is awesome. In 2007, we played them in Beaver Stadium, and we beat the brakes off them. Go back the year before, in 2006, we played them in Notre Dame, and they beat the brakes off us. So it was a pretty lopsided win for both teams in 2006, 2007. Now, about 15 years later, we get another matchup against 2 teams with stingy defenses like we talked about, and I am so excited for this matchup. Want to win money watching football? With Underdog, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash just by picking higher or lower on your favorite player's stats, like whether or not your team's running back will score a touchdown this weekend. Millions of fans have won billions of dollars on Underdog. Will you be next? Sign up now to get a free pick for your first cash entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Download the Underdog app or visit UnderdogFantasy.com to get started today.